Happy evening. I actually don't know what day it is, so there you go. So I am going to talk to you this evening about story versus circumstance. And I was first introduced to this concept by Brooke Castillo first, who does a podcast called The Life Coach School, and also more deeply understood it after reading some books by Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now and A New Earth. So if you're interested in this concept, then check out those resources. So the main thing here is that we go through our lives on a daily basis. We're having thousands, tens of thousands of thoughts on a regular basis. And all it really is unconscious, automatic thoughts, a story that we're telling ourselves about the life that is going on outside of our brains. And most of us just assume that everything that we think, or most of the things we think, are factual. They're complete facts. The sky is blue. It's cold out today. I'm tired. My life is hectic. I'm stressed. That person was being rude. That person hates me. I'm not competent, those kinds of things. This is like stories that are going on in our minds. And many of us believe that those things are true. They're facts. And there is a concept that's super important to understand, that there are circumstances that are factual, meaning everyone in the world could look at that sentence. There's no descriptive terms, and they would say that is true. No matter who you are, where you live, it would be true to that person. So, and this is in contrast to the rest of it. All the rest of the stuff that you tell yourself on a day-to-day basis is just the story that your brain is telling you. And many, many of us are doing this without any control over it. We're just letting the story that our brain has been telling us for years and years continue on and on without taking any control over it, even though it's probably making us feel like crap, at least in some aspects of our lives. For me, a few years ago, it was all aspects of my life. And I was blaming it on so many other things. I was blaming it on other people. I was blaming it on my job, on this or that. And I didn't know that it was all this story that my mind was creating for myself. So the difference between a circumstance and a story is, the easiest example to tell you is saying it's cold outside is a story. That's not a fact. Saying it's 25 degrees out is a fact. Everyone could agree, like, this is what the thermostat says, this is what the weather is today, 25 degrees. But depending on who you are and the type of clothing you have on, you may or may not believe that your temperature is cold or feels cold to you. So that's a really basic example of this thought, this difference between what's circumstance and what's fact. So I want to use an example that was for me a thing I told myself for years, and it was, I don't have enough time. I thought this every day. I felt very overwhelmed by this, and I really felt it to be true. I was extremely busy. I don't have enough time. And when I was at my most stressed, I was studying for my oral boards. So I already felt like I didn't have enough time. And then I had to find more time to study for boards. And I was freaking out. I said, how am I going to do this? I don't have enough time. I have 2 kids. I have a job. What the heck am I going to do? And luckily around the same time I was introduced to this concept that was just a thought. And it took me some convincing, because I was like, I think that's true, because my brain tells me that. I feel like it's true. I feel overwhelmed. I feel tired. I feel all these things. But turns out I was wrong. And it was just a thought I was having. And I had plenty of time. I had the same amount of time everybody else does. And maybe someone else living my life who had even more kids than me and was even busier than me would have thought that I had plenty of time. And turns out I did have plenty of time, because what I ended up doing, and I'll talk about this later, is that I took a very critical look at how I was spending my time. And I looked at how much time I was spending on TV and social media and gossip and complaining and eating and drinking. And I realized I had a lot more time than I thought. And I had never considered questioning the thought I don't have enough time, because my brain was just telling it to me. So I was like, oh, I don't have enough time. That must be true. My brain is telling me that. But my brain just was wrong. And I never thought to question it until I finally did. So I can contrast that to my life now, where I don't really feel overwhelm or a lack of time on a regular basis. I mean, I'm a human being. There are certainly times where I'm like, wow, this day went by, or I have so much to do. But on a regular basis, I can tell you that my overwhelm is not a common feeling for me. And it's because I don't think that anymore. My thought isn't I don't have enough time. My thought is I have plenty of time and I know exactly what I'm going to do at that time. And just to tell you my life, I work full time. I have 3 kids and I do have a lot of help, but I still have to pay attention to them sometimes. I have a podcast that I interview people and edit all myself. I do it all myself. I coach on the side. I'm a speaker on the side. And I work out most days. And I sleep 7 hours at least, sometimes 8 hours, hopefully a night. And I don't really feel overwhelmed, like I said. So I'm not telling you this because I'm some sort of special unicorn. This is available to any human being. And all of these things are possible because of the thought, I have plenty of time. I don't feel overwhelmed. It's directly related. And when you realize the power of that you are responsible for the story in your head and it directly correlates with how you feel in your life and the things you can get done and the actions you take, magic, complete magic. So a couple of ways to do this. The first thing, the most important thing, and I talk about this all the time, is just be aware. Become aware of the stream of consciousness thoughts that you're having on a regular basis. We're not ever taught or directed to do this. To say, listen to the brain, that is, see what it's telling you, and just listen to it. See what it's bringing up. When I did this, it was saying a lot of things, and most of it was negative. And it turns out that's just the human condition. We were born into this body with a brain that tells us how awful everything is, and that we're probably going to die every second of the day, and to be scared of everything, no matter if it can kill us or not. That's just the brain we have, and it manifests as fear and imposter syndrome and worry about other people's opinions. It manifests like that. But the brain doesn't know. The brain just has a thought, you're not good enough. That makes us feel fear, and our brain is in a dark space. It doesn't know that we're scared of a thought or if we're scared of a bear chasing us. It doesn't know the difference. So it just makes us feel like the same emotion in our bodies. And then we're frozen. I'm getting a little bit off track, but I'm going to bring it back in. So be aware of the story that your brain is telling you. Become aware of it. Don't judge it. Be curious about it. I'd be like, oh, I wonder what my brain's going to tell me today. Probably going to tell me something interesting. Probably going to tell me something negative that's not true, right? Just listen. It's a very fun experiment if you can separate the fact that the thoughts you're having are not you. If you can put a little wedge in there, it's very fascinating. Once you have gotten used to being aware of it, the next step is to work on teasing out facts and versus fiction. And journaling is really helpful for this. You can't really do it in your own brain. I've tried in the moments where I don't want to journal. It doesn't work as well. So I use this now, when something happens and I'm feeling anxious. Like the other day, I thought when my partner was upset with me, and I was feeling all this shame and anxiety, and I just wrote about it. And the thoughts that came up were so interesting, and it was just old programming that wasn't even true anymore. And once I was able to look at that logically and say, these things that my brain is offering to me that are making me feel bad right now aren't even true for where I'm at in my life. And I could separate the facts. The facts were my partner was upset with me. The rest of it was stories. And I was making it mean something completely different about who I was. And then when I was able to realize that my inherent value is intact, no matter what anyone else thinks about me, and no matter if someone's mad at me or happy with me or sad or pissed or whatever, it didn't matter. And once I did that, it changed everything in the moment, and it changes everything every day. So the next thing, once you can then tease out the stories from the circumstances, the final thing is to create a new story. Write a new story for yourself. And this feels odd because you're like, I'm just lying to myself. I'm making stuff up. You already are. Your brain's already making shit up. It's just a really crappy story. Make it a better one. make it a better one. And that is when you are, instead of being in control by the thoughts that you are having, you take control of it. So I would love to hear from you and love to hear what your stories are, what you find out about yourself. Reach out anytime and have a good rest of the night.